Hello, and welcome. Another day, another live. Let's see if we can have a great conversation and spend some time with you guys talking about cybersecurity, answering any of your cybersecurity questions. Hopefully, another great live. Monday evening. Another live. Welcome, guys, coming in. Spend some time talking about cybersecurity on a Monday evening. Hopefully, answer some of your questions and have a great conversations. As always, guys, keep the questions coming in the chat. We'll see what we get on this Monday afternoon. Chatting all things cybersecurity. Hey, Sean. Welcome. Welcome to another live. Welcome, guys, coming in. Just is Linux important? Well, I guess it depends how much of a Linux you're talking about. It's definitely important to some extent. You need to learn at least the basics. You need to learn how to navigate the command line, how to update Linux, how to use Linux firewall and stuff like that. So to some extent, yes, you need to learn some of the Linux. You don't need to be an expert on it, but you definitely need to learn some of it, especially I guess in the beginning when you start learning cybersecurity tools and stuff like that. I always say learning Kali Linux is important. So obviously that's ran on, it's a Linux distro, so you're learning how to use the and navigate Kali Linux is an important part of the journey. So yeah, definitely, and to some extent. So, welcome, guys, coming in. Yeah, no problem. Welcome coming in, guys, to another evening on chatting all things cybersecurity. As usual, I always say there's a lot of people who are willing or wanting to build their career in cybersecurity, but not necessarily understand how, what, where. There's a lot of misconception. There's a lot of uncertainty on what, where, how to do, and what. So I get a lot of DMs. I get a lot of questions. So the goal is to just jump and do some of these lives, guys, and trying to help. So answer some of the questions. So let's see what else is coming in. I'm preparing for CTTSecurity Plus. How can I get a remote job? Cybersecurity in Kenya. I don't know. Again, it's hard to start talking about remote jobs, especially when you are completely new in the field. It's pretty tricky, especially you want to learn. So in the beginning of the career, I wouldn't necessarily be chasing for remote jobs. The goal is to learn as much as possible. Hi, I'm currently looking to enter SOC level 1. Any advice? I don't know what you've done, obviously, before, Anthony, but the goal is obviously to get a couple of main certs. So get but you need to get the foundation. So you need to learn, operating systems, hardware, cover material from A+, learn networking, then, cover something like Security Plus to learn security fundamentals. But then it's about skills. What do SOC level analysts use? You need to learn how to use SIEM, how to use an EDR, how to use vulnerability management. That's the most important. So building home labs is an important stuff. What does manager say? Cybersecurity job is in cut. They said there is no more hackers than before. Yeah, but I don't understand what do you mean there's always going to be hackers. But the one thing I don't understand where people get this idea, whether it's movies or something. Everyone seems to want to go into penetration testing or ethical hacking. It's not an entry level job. You can't go from zero into penetration testing. That's nearly impossible. So there are many, many, many different jobs in cybersecurity that you can start with, but hacking is not the one. You can practice and learn things like Wireshark. Learn how to configure networks. As I say, building home lab is the best way because you can connect machines in the networks. You can learn how to configure firewalls and stuff like that. That's kind of the networking fundamentals that's going to set you up right. Have a bachelor's and Sec Plus have been stuck in support. Well, Matthew, the most important thing, obviously, I don't know what you've done, but support is obviously different. The most important what you need to do is after what you've done is gain the skills, learn the tools, gain the skills, build a home lab, learn how to and it depends where you want to go. Every path will be relative based on the role that you want to land, but the most important thing next is to build the skills that are necessary to enter the cybersecurity role and field. What is this? I have my first internship in the cybersecurity role. Any tips and hopefully land full time? Well, the most important thing is, when you go into cybersecurity, there's a lot of learning to be done before you go to cybersecurity, but there's way, way much more learning done once you land in cybersecurity. That's the development where it really takes off. So use the internship wisely, learn as much as possible, ask people questions. The one thing that you can't neglect, guys, and the most important thing is I keep talking about is building your personal brand. You guys need to leverage LinkedIn, conferences, any way you can meet people and interact with people. Ask them how, be respectful, obviously, but ask them how they built their cybersecurity career, how they've, entered the field, what skills and what they use to learn their skills. Everyone's path is different, but there's every person you can learn something from every person. So the more you're going to leverage that, the better position you're going to put yourself into. What do you say? I heard that agentic AI is starting to replace job in cybersecurity. What job? There is no job in cybersecurity. There's different roles in cybersecurity. YK says, is it worth getting certified in CISM? Well, it depends what's your goal, YK. It's CISM is worth and is gonna be helpful if you're looking to go into any of the leadership roles. So, that's kind of it says, certified information security manager. So if you're looking to go into management or, leadership, there is purpose for it. But other than that, but you have to understand again, CISM, you can only get certificate if you've got 5 years of experience. So if you haven't got 5 years of experience, don't bother, do an exam. Get a prerequisite of experience and then you can get there. Yeah, exactly. As John says, AI is just, everyone's talking about hype. AI is nowhere near to be ready to replace any jobs. And it's not going to replace jobs. It's going to help people to do the jobs better. Come a long way from them. Yeah, exactly. Evening, I managed to bag the second line support role at work. Good stuff, Sam. Great to hear people, getting some success. So amazing. Second line support, again, it's a great way to leverage, gain experience, knowledge, in early stages of your career. So, it's going to be an amazing springboard, leverage the people around you, learn, and all the success is going to be in your hands. Would you recommend Try Hack Me to someone trying to learn SOC Level 1? Yeah, Try Hack Me is a good, springboard at the starting point. So, you can work through, there is a specific, I think there's even specific SOC path on Try Hack Me to learn and leverage that. So, yeah, definitely. Next one. Stuck. I don't know which part I will take in cybersecurity. Well, Tom, nobody can help you to suggest what path to take. You need to figure it out what's the best for you. Who has heard about ServiceNow? Anyone's who's been in technology, I guess. C+ and Python, a coding language needed to be learned and used in any cybersecurity role. C+, definitely not. Python potentially, Liz, but that's mainly for security engineering, where you can build tools and automate stuff, or penetration testing. But yeah, definitely Python could be useful. What looks good on CV? CV, I think the most important thing that people miss on CV, they list their responsibilities, or they list the tools and stuff like that. The most powerful thing that you can put in your CV is outcome based. So say I used Wireshark to detect network traffic attacks and stop these kind of specific attacks. I use vulnerability management to reduce the risk by X amount, or reduce the number of vulnerabilities. It's all about what tool process stuff you used and how did it help business. So focus on outcome based experience on CV. That's going to really differentiate stuff. You don't need to know any programming language to begin your career, IKJ. How do I go from using YouTube ChatGPT to build projects or solve problems to knowing it yourself? Well, it's again, do the research, build. Go on my YouTube. There is a project. I outline how to build the best SOC lab. You need to find, and that's specifically I built this video is because I don't go step by step. People too many times are doing these, walkthrough videos where they just essentially everything copy pasting. You need to find guides and stuff like that where they just outline the exercise, and then you specifically try to figure it out yourself how to do it, how to do bit by bit. That's where the real training comes in. It's about, working through problems and understanding how to uncover them. What 3 courses would you recommend for a beginner? The best and simplest ones are Nomadic is A+, Network Plus, and Security Plus from CompTIA. That covers, your hardware, the software, the networking, and security fundamentals. And then from there, it's about, skills. Yeah, I think you already asked that. So, Anthony, yeah, we would recommend Try Hack Me. There is one guy in TikTok who is new in CS, must listen to him first. Master Hacker Loyang. Cool, good stuff. Well, I'm doing a T level in digital support and security, meaning I'm 16. Would you suggest I work on? I can't suggest anything, Will, because without understanding what you want to do and where you want to go, it's pointless to suggest me anything. I have to, Zahib, this couple of things. So Zahib says, what do you think of Try Hack Me SAL1 certification? I think there are 2 types of certificates in the world. There's those ones who like SAL, like some Google size cybersecurity. There's ones that are great for learning, and there's great ones who are for job search and meeting ATS and HR requirements. So SAL, I think, is good for learning the skills and learning the knowledge. But is it for everyone? Not necessarily, because you have to think. Where was the last time you have seen on a job spec anyone asking, do you have Try Hack Me SAL1 certification? You probably won't see that. So you can probably achieve most of that certification training doing your self-training via home labs and stuff like that. And as I always say, if you do one certificate, you do Security Plus, because that covers most of the job spec requirements. Anything else on top of it is a bonus and a gravy. If you got money for it, then why not? And time. Coming out of school with a CPE degree, what entry positions should I apply for to break into cyber? I don't know what is a CPE degree, Aaron, but whatever degree you have, you're not gonna get any cybersecurity job. You need to have skills, and most of the universities do not prepare you for that. Just having a degree. I mean, you care. I didn't want to go into cybersecurity. Yeah. What's stopping you twice? Is good CCNA plus CompTIA Security Plus, or just focus on one of them? You can't focus on one of them. You can't, Byte Blaster, you can't do just Security Plus without knowing the networking. I've seen so many people being advised to jump into straight into Security Plus, but if you're completely new, how can you secure a network if you don't understand how network works? Jumping into straight Security Plus is a wrong move. You need to learn the fundamentals about hardware, operating systems, and networking. Conducting a pen test on Kali and Metasploitable good enough for intern resume project experience? Hard to say. It depends how much of the project have you done. If you've done one hack, then of course it's not super fly. Cyber Chris says A plus network plus security plus and online sources like other both to hack me. Yeah, exactly. But I would say I would add, on top of online courses, doing a home lab is an important piece as well. I don't know if I might be too easy for pro experience. Will memory-based exploitation be redundant with new languages which are memory safe? Potentially, ITC, but again, you see, everything's changing so rapidly. Yes, the languages might be safe, but the thing is, doesn't mean that all these everyone's going to change the language. Everyone still uses all kinds of languages. So until these languages that are not memory safe become completely redundant, there's still going to be a place for it. I've been offered a job doing cyber risk management. Is it worth redoing my CISP? No, I wouldn't say so, Niall, because if you're doing just risk management, I would, if you're looking to go into leadership, yes, CISP. But if you're stuck within cyber risk management, I would do CRISC, CRISC, which is specifically for risk management. So I would rather do that. Just started the CRISC course to add to my CISP and CISM. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah. I've never got to CRISC. I've done CISP and CISM, but never got into CRISC, and maybe at some point. Should I get a degree in cybersecurity or self-study? Well, from my personal perspective, I always say to people, don't waste your time on a degree. I always say, the same kind of thing. 3 years getting a cybersecurity degree, that's not going to guarantee you a job, versus self-study and learning, where you can probably land the cybersecurity job in 9 to 12 months. So obviously cutting down 2 years of university time and potentially saving a lot of money. We already answered it. How hard will it be to get a SOC analyst role without Security Plus but internship experience? It's not going to make it hard. It's all about, Joe, it's all about skills. If you got the skills, the knowledge, and you covered enough of the knowledge in internship, you should be absolutely fine. Security Plus is not a defining factor here. Good industry certification for industry jobs. What does that mean, Don? Good industry certification for what industry? For what jobs? I think we're going to try CISO exam this year. Cool, good stuff. Are you looking to go into a leadership another corner, or you just doing it for the sake of doing it? If you're just doing it for the sake of doing it, then don't waste your money. Suggestion is after gaining some skills, take certification from ServiceNow platform. Why would you take a certification from ServiceNow platform? I have the Security Plus. What would you recommend from this point in terms of certs projects? If you got Security Plus, Zahib, then you don't really need anything else. You just need to get the projects. Go work on, building a home lab with SOC. So, Kali Linux, Wazoo, and Windows Server. Connect them to the network. Check out my YouTube. All of the exercises that you need to do are in there. There's so many. You can practice OpenWAS using vulnerability management. Wazoo is your XDR and your SIEM. You can run Kali attacks on Windows Server. You can look how these attacks look from network perspective using Wireshark. You can look how these attacks look from endpoint perspective, looking from Wazoo. And again, Wazoo has Elasticsearch running as your SIEM, so you can visualize all of that and see how, build analytics to detect those attacks, fix what's broken to prevent those attacks, do OpenVAS vulnerability management and patching and stuff like that. There's so much things you can do. Fundamentals are key. Exactly, Chris. Yeah, fundamentals are key. Don't start as well. Networks use RJ45 is easy. Yeah, of course. If you think that's it. CompTIA, Trifecta, Home Labs, TryHackMe, Help Desk, that entry so good. Yeah, that sounds sort of pretty good path and pretty sort of thought out roadmap. That's definitely good, Proton. Joe, I already answered that question. You probably asked it 20 times. Home labs are a fun way to learn. I have my own home lab running Proxmox, Wazoo, and Kali. Yeah, exactly, Chris. Yeah, good stuff. If you have industry certs, you can transfer to the Western Governors University. Yeah, you can do that as well. Yeah, because I think WGU they cover about 5 certs in their program. They cover some stuff like Security Plus and some other stuff. How to start self-studying? Is there any resources, roadmaps? Well, start studying for what? Yeah. As I said, of course, there's resources. There's courses. You do the courses to learn the basics, and then it's about home labs. I'm trying leadership, but mostly consulting. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, but if you're doing consulting, then don't waste your money on CC. So if you're gonna go for leadership, then yeah, by all means. But if you're gonna go leadership, another corner, I would say do CSSP. That's way more important than CC. So Chris says I'm more leadership now, but spent over 20 years in engineering, moving more towards GRC these days. Okay, cool, good stuff, Chris. Yeah. I've done pretty much everything in last 10 years or so. They've obviously been in leadership last 3 years. So yeah, good stuff. GRC is nice and easy life. I guess, you're never going to get called out for no incident. You just make sure the program runs as it's supposed to run. No, good stuff. You got some proper veterans today. 20 years one. You got another corner. You was 18 years in both network administration and cyber incident response. Good stuff. How do I start as a self-learner? Well, the first thing what you need to do, Ellie, figure out what role you want to land and where do you want to be. That's the most important step, because you can't start anything unless you know where you want to go in your cybersecurity journey. So figure out the role you want to do. Figure out what each role means. What do they do? That's the basic thing. Because it's funny how every day you get questions. How do I start in cybersecurity? You can't start in cybersecurity. You need to figure out what path and what role you want to pursue in cybersecurity in order to be able to go anywhere. And most people can't even do basic stuff like that. So, kind of, I even mentioned the other day, I said to people, I think cybersecurity is not for everyone. There's people in this industry been attracted by, thinking, oh, just do one cert, it's a high paying job, I just do one cert and all of a sudden I'm going to get 100 grand jobs, the road into cybersecurity is really hard, and especially nowadays is getting harder and harder. So you need to do a lot of work and a lot of preparation and a lot of hard graft in order to land a role in cybersecurity. Stuff is not going to happen overnight. You need to be realistic. You need to be diligent. You need to learn the basics. You need to graft. Personally, when I build my cybersecurity teams, I hire people. I look for two most important things. Attitude and aptitude. Do you have willingness and ability and curiosity to learn? And you are the person who's got drive, resilience, passion for cybersecurity? Then we are on a right path and a right successful path. Because you can learn everything. I can teach you everything, but I can't teach you to be passionate and curious and all of that. Yeah, exactly. Home labs is the best way to learn, Julia. I can imagine there's some of these applications, is just crazy. CSEC, yeah. I stopped applying for all of these memberships now. I guess as I said before, I kind of mentioned, maybe some of you are aware, some of you know, but I was very intentional building a personal brand. So my LinkedIn kind of gone a bit viral after last couple of months or so. So I got loads of stuff. I'm actually preparing and doing a webinar for ISACA in a couple of weeks. CSO Magazine is writing an article about me, again, based on some of the viral posts. So got some people who are writing books and stuff asking for interviews. So we'll see where this interesting journey takes us. Yeah, I think as well. After CyberChris, I kind of have the same feeling. After a couple of years, first when you get it, it's kind of new and fascinating and it's exciting. But after a while, these certs, as long as you had them once, there's no point keeping them. Even if you do a new job search, you can just show that you had them. I don't think you need to keep. The maintenance fees are killing, and then collecting and gathering all the CPEs is just annoying. I'm enrolled in college now for cybersecurity analyst. After my graduation, I want to be SOC analyst. Good stuff, Rockstar. And pen tester. How are you going to be two in one? You can't be a pen tester straight out of college, Rockstar. That's near impossible. So start with a SOC analyst, gain some experience, get the foundational skills, and then eventually you can move into pen testing if that's the ultimate goal at the end of the day. We got some more people coming in. Good stuff. For the security, which best certificate for cybersecurity beginning? There is no cybersecurity beginning, Paula. So you have to figure out what role you want to do. But if you haven't done anything, you have to start with, it's not about certificates. It's about skills and knowledge. So you have to cover stuff like CompTIA A+ and Network Plus to cover the basics, networking, hardware, software fundamentals. Yeah, exactly, CyberChris. Yeah, learn to defend first before you can attack. I made my first log analyzer in Python today. What other tools should I make? Hey, Shulia, and hey, Redden. You can probably, where you can probably play around, Shulia, as well. You can build tools using like Nmap and do like all kinds of common scans. You can probably, you can automate loads of stuff. If you took in Python, just think about the manual tasks that you run in your CLI, and then essentially you can just build automation for it. So you can build pretty much anything. You can probably build as well, like using, like, for example, VirusTotal, do IP analyzers and stuff like that. Good stuff, Khaled. Good to hear that people, taking some advice, got things going. Nice. Chris says I used to watch CompTIA Plus, CCNA V3, and MCSA 2003. Yeah, well, yeah, but that's I think I always say to people, I guess in a way it's maybe in a way it's even probably a disservice nowadays because there's so much information, everything at your fingertips that people really don't even know where to start. 20 years ago, it was, I think, obviously it was much harder, but it was much simpler to start the journey because there was kind of only probably a couple of courses that you could do. I don't have a university degree, but I have 3 international degrees. Am I wrong? Are you wrong in what, Paula? I'm not sure what you mean by you're wrong. You don't need to have a university degree for cybersecurity. Well, yeah, exactly. You can automate recon. So as I say, you can do all the the initial sort of scans that you would do, for example, with Nmap. You can probably plug in a couple of things. You can plug in Nmap. You can plug in stuff like Dirtbuster. What else is there? There's stuff you can gather information about a specific target. Green badge. I'm just starting out. CompTIA Plus still worth doing, and is Professor Messer an AI? Take the exam. Yeah, Professor Messer is good. Yeah, A plus. Yeah, you don't necessarily need to do an exam, but you need to know the fundamentals of the A plus. You only need to do A plus if you wanna start in a help desk, but otherwise you just learn everything you need to learn. What's the salary market for SOC at the moment? I would say Redden junior SOC analyst starting out, you're probably looking anywhere. I would say 30 to 45 if you're lucky. But yeah, you can within a couple of years of experience, you get to about 60K pretty easily, and then you can move up. Then then things gets interesting if you move to like security engineering and stuff like that. So I think I started at about 45, 50. But within 2 years, I got into 80, and then everything just went up and up. But I did a lot of work. It's a lot of development was to get there. No, you don't have to have a university degree, Paula. Yeah, sure. I mean, getting familiar and working in terminal is an important part of the journey. There's going to be obviously tools and different aspects of that. In modern enterprise that no, not always going to be in command line, but it's good to learn. You learn the Linux fundamentals and how to navigate, how to build tools. As you say, you're using already Python, so it's a good step in the right direction. Make sure you documented that journey. Make sure you're posting stuff on LinkedIn, whether it's blogs and whatever stuff is. Reddit says I've started my Sec Plus, finished security concepts, and security is interesting but need passion and motivation. Well, you ain't gonna get any passion from anywhere external. It only happens within Reddit. So find the reasons what you're doing it for. You kind of mentioned, I guess, you got stuff on the way, so that's the biggest motivation that you can think. Okay, yeah, good stuff, Green Badge. You have to remember as well, guys, that money should be second and probably last motivating factor getting into cybersecurity. There's other things, whether it's you want to support family, you want a rewarding career, you want to end up at some point protecting businesses and people from cybersecurity harms, but you got kids on the way, you want to provide for your family, but it's money is not the first thing, but I think money comes second when you have a drive and a passion for cybersecurity. If you're leading with money, I think things not gonna work out as well as you supposed to, or as well as you would think it would be. But, I started this journey in cybersecurity, 10 years ago, and it's probably the best decision I've made in my career. Somebody mentioned this kind of a long time ago. Somebody said, that find a job that you love, and you're never going to work a day in your life. But it actually been true. There's never been a Sunday evening when I'm thinking, oh no, I'm gotta go to work on Monday. Every day it's is a joy. What I do is, I get mass amounts of pleasure, especially with all the extra stuff I do. Reading people's success in a chat that they listen to my advice. I'm not getting paid for all of these streams. I think I've done 15 hours of streams and I made maybe 50p. So it's nothing. I'm trying to help some people, and especially turn away from what some crap advice other people are there who want to sell you courses and stuff like that. I've got no courses to sell. I'm building a course, but I'm not building a course for junior people. Actually, I'm really excited. I'm building a course for CISOs who I think the biggest struggle is for CISOs is about communication, is about influence, is about getting budget support, getting people hired in their teams. So we're building a course with a great colleague about how we can teach the communication, influence skills, the bias understanding, the different types of leaders that they are communicating to, how get through to them. So that's going to be interesting turn how we're going to develop that in the near future. But yeah, it's good to see people, grafting, applying the knowledge and information that I'm shared. What do you think is the hardest branch in all of the cybersecurity? Well, I think hardest is the relative to everyone else, I guess, experience. But if you have to think, Julia, I would say probably stuff like incident response, because you are every single day of your career, you are always on the edge. You're always driven by adrenaline. You never know when the phone's going to ring and all shit's going to go loose. And, people who work incident response, you might have quiet, days and weeks. And then all of a sudden, you're working non-stop days and nights to trying to contain the breach. Because every single hour while the breach is happening, the losses are growing exponentially. So I think that's a lot of pressure. And that's why that's probably the only one role that I haven't worked, and I would never kind of thought about entering into incident response. I'm a overthinker. Security will do for me. Yeah, good stuff. Is there any boot camp you can recommend in Essex, London? No, I don't know any boot camps in specific area in Essex, London. But if you don't want to learn by yourself and be a self-learner, the only other one I would recommend is there's a program called Caps Lock Green Badge. So have a look at that. They do a 16-week boot camp for people who want to go into cybersecurity. And then, I think they offer a salary sacrifice afterwards when you finish. So if you can't pay it for it, you can finish the program. And then when you land your cybersecurity job, they're going to take, I think, 9% of your salary until you paid for it off. But again, as I say, I did it self-learning, and I always say to people, don't waste money on boot camps. If you can be diligent, you can get it done yourself. How many years did you start in field? You mean how many years ago I started in field of cybersecurity, Paula? I've been 10 years in cybersecurity. Not necessarily like sysadmin. It's a bit more than sysadmin, because obviously you gather evidence and forensic analysis. You're trying to contain systems, and you try to contain the incident from spreading and cut off the access to the hackers, gather evidence, and then think about lessons learned and how we can do things better for the next time. That's kind of IR. But yeah, it's 24/7. Yep. Self-learning is, well, from my perspective, self-learning is definitely the best way, Redden. Yeah, correct. You primarily work with candidates in the EU or in the US? Well, I'm a CISO for we're a global company, so Currently, I only got a team in UK, but obviously, I'm going to be building a team in US, and I will probably build a team in Australia as well. So we got presence in Australia, US, and UK. Tom says, which laptop do you recommend for cybersecurity care? Um, it doesn't really matter, Tom. The only thing is, I would say, if you want to do some home labs and do some actual, virtualization, the only important thing is that ideally your laptop would have 16 gigabytes of RAM. Everything else doesn't really matter, Tom. If you have no IT background, I would say self-learning teaches you way more. It puts your head ahead. Yeah, exactly. I would say, I definitely agree. I think, self-learning, it allows you to, learn how to problem solve on your own, how to figure it out things. I think it teaches you discipline and stuff that you sometimes not necessarily would learn. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think everywhere, there's a need of cybersecurity personnel. Obviously, the kind of the entry level market is kind of flooded, but there's a big disconnect of code of what is needed in order to develop a career and actually building and getting that career in cybersecurity. So, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, self-taught is definitely tons of support, motivation, But as I say, that's the reason I started. I kind of didn't mention as well, guys, previously. I started. There's a Telegram group that we, started building as well. We got, I think, 31 guys already in. Who want to, learn together, share ideas. Again, it's a safe space for people to come and study together and share between and chat. So yeah, if you want to join again, there is there is a picture in my bio you can find and join, like-minded people who want to study together and learn together. Um, Let me see, Redden. I don't know if you might not have it. Let me see if I can. What I'll do is let me find a link. I'll try and drop you a link if I can, and then you should be able to share a link with you, so you can then share the link with other people. Let me see. Let me see if I can find. Can I share? No, I can't share. What's your name, Reddin, in Telegram group? Because you're not the same name, are you, in Telegram group? Is it the same? Okay, let me just find it. Ah, there we go. Yeah, yeah. Let me just see if I can then message you. I'll drop you the link. Yeah, there you go. There's the link. So you can just share with people. I have a computer science BSc, Net Plus, Sec Plus, Google Cybersecurity, Python Cert, and coded in C++. Ah, good stuff. Good stuff, L code. That's some good experience, some good certs, good knowledge. Yeah. Amazing. Keep sending if you got any more questions, guys. I'll be another 10, 15 minutes or so. Let me actually have a look. Probably I'll do, or maybe drop another live tomorrow if I have time. Yeah, but I think based on what you just posted, Elf Code, I think, now's the time. You probably are ready. Well, if you go with the skills and actually, again, you just mentioned obviously all the certs. So I've been studying in Hemlock. How does one have an employee take a risk? I'm not sure what you mean by that. How does one have an employee take a risk? I'm not sure what you mean by that, Elf Code, if you can explain. An employer take a... You mean employer take a risk in terms of hiring you? Well, the thing is, it's not about taking a risk. You guys need to be... employer will never take a risk. Employer will hire people who think they are prepared. So the most important thing is, what you listed here is great stuff, but that's all theory. The biggest question you need to answer, of code, is, do you know how to use EDR, XDR? Do you know how to use SIEM? Do you know how to use vulnerability management tools? Do you know how to investigate cybersecurity incident? Do you know how to understand the difference between high severity vulnerabilities and how to prioritize them? Do you know how to investigate attack from network perspective and from endpoint perspective? Do you know what to look for in the haystack when the incident happens? So all of this can only happen once you start then elevating the skills. You covered the main importance theory. Now it's about, through labs, doing various exercises and sort of mimicking the attacks that happen in the real world, so you can acquire those skills. And then once you are prepared, but again, the important thing is Elf Code, what I mentioned to everyone. Portfolio is an important point. But it's another point is building a personal brand. You guys, when you apply for jobs, this is the most important lesson that everyone needs to learn. When you just apply to jobs, you are competing against hundreds of other people. If you get referred to a job, you competing against 2 or 3 people. Understand, guys, first of all, 50 to 60% of jobs which are advertised, they're already probably filled. HR is just advertising them because they need to. You have to understand, I always say, message 10 people every single day on LinkedIn, make them your friends, ask them how they develop their careers, how they build their skills. That's 300 people a month. Networking is an amazing place. Go into cybersecurity events, learn where junior cybersecurity people hang out. Meet as many people as possible, because they become your friends. They're gonna offer, whenever somebody, hiring manager, if I'm hiring a person, what do I do first? I say to my team, do you have anyone in mind from your network that could be great for this job? That's the biggest hack that you will ever do to get a job. Unrelated, do you invest in gold? Have you seen the skyrocket? No, I don't invest specifically in gold, Reddit. I invest in what's it called? I invest in a couple of things. So I've got Bitcoin. I've been collecting Bitcoin for a number of years now. So I'm getting close to 0.1 Bitcoin. Not too much, but it's enough. But I invest in stocks and shares ISA I've got. So I invest in things like high dividend yield ETF and S&P 500 ETF. That's the other thing I invest. Do you think will be good to post CTF write-ups on GitHub along with tools? Yeah, of course. But again, guys, remember, you have to differentiate. Who's going to find your GitHub? Very rarely likely. So you have to duplicate what you do on GitHub. Put some of the write-ups, some of the information, or links to GitHub on LinkedIn. Okay, good stuff, L-Code. Yeah, good stuff. Should I learn Nessus Essential and implement in my home lab and use the job market as my learning? Yeah, Victor. Yeah, you can implement either Nessus or OpenVAS. I don't know if you can get Nessus Essential, which is free, then yeah, by all means. If not, then do the OpenVAS. It's another open source free vulnerability scanner. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's who you know, not what you know. But what you know is important, but the next one is who you know. Exactly. Yeah, networking is definitely what runs the hack the box or try hack me. Try hack me, I would say Reddit, because hack the box. I think they started doing some soccer blue team stuff, but obviously they've always been specifically for hacking. So I think try hack me got more material, but they are probably getting too close to level pegging now. So either one, whichever is cheaper, they both can achieve the same thing. But I would say Reddit, they're only for the very beginning, for the learning the basics. Once you get enough skills, then by all means, home labs. Both of try hack me or hack the box can't replicate what home labs do. So I think home labs are better. Hey, playing weirdo. Exactly. That's the most important thing I say off code. How can because once you build a personal brand, once you get enough network, once you get enough people seeing how you are, how you're working so hard, how you're developing some amazing skills, you're building security tools. This is usually the change that clicks, because once you do that visibility and you gain enough visibility, I always say this is the magic trick, because it has a potential to not only you not needing to apply for jobs, but people will reach out and offer you the jobs, because you're going to be seen how you are passionate, how you're developing the skills, and how you can help these companies. So recruiters, people going to reach out to you. Last 2 jobs I landed, I didn't apply anywhere. Again, jobs found me. And to this day, jobs, opportunities, I've got board advisory roles, I get speaking opportunities, all kinds of things land in my lap because of what I do on LinkedIn. I always say, for example, I've got, in the last 60 days, I got 1.5 million impressions. So that means my LinkedIn posts have been seen by 1.5 million people in the last 60 days, so that's quite a lot. So yeah, that's it's definitely an important thing, and a lot of people do not hear it or do not understand this part in the cybersecurity journey, which I think is it's really important to get that. And it's about consistency. I always say think about how, for example, my typical day starts. I make a cup of coffee, turn my laptop on. I'm on my laptop by say 8:45. Every single morning, Monday to Friday, between 9:15 and 9:30, will always be my long form LinkedIn post about cybersecurity leadership, about CISO life, and it's been consistency like that for I don't know how many years. Mistakes are the most important part of the journey. How can you learn if you never make a mistake? It's about comfort and understanding that everyone makes mistakes. It's inevitable, and mistakes are the ones that you need to learn from. As long as you learn from your mistakes, it's amazing. You want to make as many mistakes as possible, as long as you get to learn from them, because that's an important part. You need to be able to and comfortable to get outside of your comfort zone and do this. Well, think of a story, Redden. There's a story about everything. You are learning Security Plus. You can teach about acronyms. You can teach about anything. Like someone who's say, for example, Redden. Do you know how many people in the world are currently studying Network Plus, A Plus, who don't have any information about Security Plus? So think of a story. Think of a post. Think of anything. What could be interesting that you're currently learning from Security Plus? Teach people what's the difference between hashing, encryption and encoding. Teach about people the difference between HIDS and what's the other one? NIDS. What's the difference between IPS and IDS? There's so many things you can post in there that are from the material that you're learning. Every single day you're going to learn an acronym, the tool, how stuff works. Explain people OCI layers. Explain people what's the difference between UDP and TCP. There's so much you can do. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly that. Keep posting. Keep driving, and eventually people will come. Can you please share the Telegram group? Yeah. I've just Redin can you see if you can share the link with Mutwakil? Figure out yourself. Reply. Yeah, exactly. Another thing as well. Interact with other people. Post elf code. I forgot. Post yourself, but also interact with other people. Comment. Ask questions. That's how you learn. Use LinkedIn to its full capacity. Grow your network. Ask people. That's the best way to learn in cybersecurity. Ask people who are one step ahead, and share and teach people who are one step behind. That's the greatest skill. And another thing, which is a great hack, I always say to people: teach others. Pick up your sister, your mom. If you can teach someone a cybersecurity concept that has no clue about technology, then you have to really understand that subject, and that shows that you know the subject well. Like, teaching someone who has no clue about encryption, hacking, hashing, or whatever means you know really well. So if you can teach that to someone, then that's an important skill to have. And great points, yeah. Winfu. Sorry guys, I'm just drinking pre-workout, gonna go gym after that. Oh, I forgot to check actually what time, and see what time I can. I look. It depends on what I'm trying to hire, Alf Code. Oh yeah, I'll probably go live again 6 or 5 tomorrow. It depends what I'm trying to hire or what role I'm trying to hire, Alf Code. But the thing is, I look for. Show me how you doing extracurricular activities. How are you passionate? How are you developing? Are you participating in any cybersecurity forums, communities? How are you developing skills and knowledge? Where do you keep up to date? Certificates is maybe one way, but show me in your CV how are you continuously developing and showing passion for cybersecurity. Have you built tools? Have you built blogs and stuff like that? Show me that you really, care. Because tools I can teach you. I can teach you to be passionate about cybersecurity. So you need to be able to show that. But then the most thing is obviously that's kind of, you can ascertain that. Show me outcome based knowledge. How did you use security to solve business problems? But then when it comes to interview again, I'm going to ask you a few very important things. I'm going to say, tell me your personal development plan for the next 6 to 12 months. How are you planning to develop your career in the next 6 to 12 months? Tell me the book or that left you the biggest impression about cybersecurity. Tell me how you are keeping up to date with cybersecurity news. Stuff like that shows you are, invested in this industry. That's kind of the most important, because once you have that, everything else is, going to be easy. I'll give you a very simple example, Elf Code. I've hired, so I had an opening in my team 2 years ago. I hired a person who, I used to mentor on the caps lock, which I mentioned earlier, is a boot camp. So one of the guys in there was an electrician. He's been electrician for 16 years, and he joined the program. to transition into cybersecurity in a career. But, he stood out head and shoulders above his class in terms of how he was proactive in terms of learning, studying, being curious, So it was no brainer when I hired him. And he was probably the best junior person that I've hired in a long time. He's been in my team for now probably 2 years now, and it's been amazing how he developed and grew and got promoted from junior into sort of fully pledged cybersecurity analyst. So and he's doing very well. So yeah, everything is possible as long as you apply yourself, you work hard, you put time and effort in. Because the hardest bit is in the beginning. The finding the job, and first year or two until you learn the basics. There's going to be a hard, but with experience and knowledge, your life gets so much easier in cybersecurity, and you get so much more satisfaction from the job that you do. Good stuff. Amazing to see. Guys, on that note, I'm going to love you and leave you. I'm going to drop in later on. I'm going to probably, around similar time, probably 6 p.m. tomorrow. I'll do another live so we can catch up and chat some more, guys, if you want. In the meantime, Reddin has the link to the Telegram community if you want to join. Otherwise, check out some of the stuff and videos on my YouTube. Check out some shorts about the cybersecurity careers and roles that I've been doing lately. Until then, have a wonderful evening, guys, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Catch you later, guys.